Warning: this video contains plenty of flashing images that can be dangerous to any viewers with photosensitive epilepsy. If you feel that the video will be in any way harmful or dangerous to you, please turn off the video now. If any symptoms of nausea, headache, or dizziness begin to occur, we recommend you turn off the video as soon as possible. Long and short, take precautions, yo.
Pardon me, sir. How much do you want for this? It's free. Take it. What? Are you sure? I can pay you for it. I said you could take it. Now get out of here. The above is a brief exchange of words between a very edgy young man, possibly in his late 20s, and myself, at a yard sale I happened by. I always find the most interesting things at yard sales and flea markets. I'm normally there for books, but I'll occasionally happen across something else that I find worth my time. I didn't find any books this time around. The entire sale seemed to be comprised of children's toys, clothes for both little boys and little girls, as well as some items I'd expect a young married woman to use. Silken night clothes, stack of cheesy romance novels that I had no interest in. I can't read pure romance. I need something like murder or mystery to make it interesting. Jewelry, as well as several cases of makeup, most of which appeared to be half used. I found the used makeup to be in bad taste. If you no longer had use for it, throw it away. Don't try to peddle what's touched your face to other people. It's disgusting. I kept these thoughts to myself, however, as the man running the small junk sale seemed far from stable. As I was about to leave, something blue, peeking out from underneath the small gray bunny plush, caught my eye. Colors always catch my attention, especially blue. So I lifted the plush to examine it. To my surprise, it was a Pokemon Blue game. Not that I've been looking for one, but I felt like experiencing a little nostalgia. Even though the first generation games wasn't my favorite, it reflects back to a much simpler time in my life. The cartridge had the word Tears written neatly on the back across the image of Blastoise. I assumed it was a nickname of some sort. Perhaps the previous owner of the game cried a lot. It was within a bunch of children's things. Perhaps they were young enough to be labeled a crybaby by others, and Tears was just a nicer name. I'm not sure anyway. I got the game for free, but I left $1 on the table just so I'd feel better about taking it. When I got home, I inserted the game in my SP and turned it on. The sound at the start screen was greatly distorted. It sort of fluctuated from being several tones lower than the normal to being nothing more than a low rumble. It was unsettling to say the least. Naturally, I assumed the game was faulty, but I thought I'd play through until something froze up on me. The previous owner, this Tears person, still had a game file. It would be expected with the used game, but no information about playtime, character name, or anything else of the sort was displayed when that option was highlighted. Curious, I chose the previously started game just to see where they were with everything. A child was bound to have an interesting game with a creative names. Insight into the innocent mindset that was slowly becoming rarer with each passing year. Upon choosing the previous saved game, I was met with a black screen and silence. I felt disappointed. The game seemed to already have messed up on me. I was just about to turn it off when the dialog box popped up. I began to read, but the text was moving painstakingly slow. I've been robbed of everything. My title is champion. My grandfather's respect. Even my Pokemon are dead because of you. I won't stand for this. I will come to find you. I was confused. Who was speaking? Who were they speaking to? My heart rate picked up out of what I assumed was fear. It'd been a while, but I knew this was normal. But curiosity continued to keep me locked into the game. As the black screen faded away, the music belonging to the inside of the Pokemon Tower began playing perfectly. The sound, obviously, wasn't as broken as it appeared to be at the beginning. The scene that revealed when the black faded was appropriate. The Pokemon Tower. The not-so-familiar-to-me sprite of the in-game rival, Blue, was standing in front of one of the many graves inside the tower. He stayed there for several minutes, the disturbing music continuing to play throughout his silence, before he'd finally said something. "This ends today. For both of us." With that, he left the tower. My screen followed him as he stood outside the tower. The music did not change to Lavender Town's normal, depressing music. Rather, the haunting tune from inside the graveyard continued to play on a loop. As much as I wanted to turn down the music, I couldn't bring myself to do so. I couldn't move the character after that. I couldn't tell if it was another assumed glitch of a clearly hacked game, or it was hesitation on the character's part. After another minute, he finally spoke again. "Fly." Even though there was no voice connected to the character in the game, with the speech, the text moved. There was almost an obvious feel of depression about him. I opened the start menu and checked Blue's party. All he had was a Pidgeot, which had no level. I checked its stats. The only move it knew was the requested action to fly. And all its stats, except for health, were 0. Odd. As I found this, I didn't question it, and it chose to fly. The map opened up. It was black, save for one small square that was marked Mount Silver. I knew this wasn't possible. Mount Silver was in Johto, which had yet to be introduced in the original Pokemon games. Regardless, it was my only destination, so I chose it. The typical animation of the trainer sprite turning into a bird sprite and flying off took place. Sure enough, I landed in front of the cave entrance to Mount Silver. Rather than having the sprite shift back to Blue's sprite, his image moved to the left of Pidgeot's sprite. They faced each other for a minute before a sound much like that of entering and exiting a room played, but in a much higher tone. It sounded as if something had broken. When Blue spoke yet again, "Fly away. You're free." I began to assume the noise was the sound of a Pokeball breaking. The Pidgeot cried out once, before doing as its former master commanded and flying away. After his final Pokemon flew away, the haunting music continued to play. He faced the entrance. "I'm coming for you." I now had the impression that this was a mission of revenge. And, with the only way he was speaking, it was revenge of the darkest sort. It dawned on me to check the items he had on him. I don't know why this thought crossed my mind, but given the ongoing circumstances, I felt there would be something there. And there was. The only item in the list, knife. An item that certainly wasn't programmed into the game under normal circumstances. Anytime I picked the option to use, it was just what it did. Blue said, "Not yet." After that, I was unable to control the character anymore. It's as if he wanted me to get him there and see his single item just to get a gist of what he may be planning. But that was it. The rest was all his own. Blue stepped into the cave as he trekked through the stone maze of the cave. He never encountered any Pokemon, but I could faintly hear distorted cries mixed with the music. I'm not sure, but I believe they could feel the negative emotions coming off of Blue, and they cried out in concern. Finally, he reached the chamber that harbored Red in the Gold and Silver games. Blue's pace slowed a little as he approached his rival, and the music? Dark, as it was already lowered considerably, making it infinitely darker. As the two rivals faced each other, and Red simply greeting Blue with the silence I'd become accommodated to in Pokemon Gold. However, Blue did not take this very well. He shouted, in apparent anger, "Don't ignore me like you have everything and everyone else." A battle ensued, but the normal music didn't play. The darker music of the Pokemon Tower continued. By this time, the other people were home, and were becoming quite annoyed with the volume of my music, so I was forced to put headphones in, as I still couldn't bring myself to actually lower the volume. Disturbing as it was, the music had some sort of hold on me. I stared at the game screen as the battle opened up. Obviously, since Blue had no Pokemon, he never called anything out, neither did Red. The only option in the box, the 4 options of fight, Pokemon, item, and run, weren't all there. All there was to choose at the moment was item, so obviously, he chose it. The only item there to use was the one I'd mentioned before, knife. It was quickly selected on its own and went back to the battle scene. Now, only battle option available was fight. In the fight menu, Blue only had one attack at his disposal, murder. I couldn't regain control of the game. There was no option to run. I couldn't bring myself to turn off the game and end what had quickly become a disturbing experience. The only choice there was to sit there and allow Blue to murder Red. After selecting attack, Blue shouted, "This is for everything!" A typical attack animation, much like Tackle played, but only instead of a single strike, Blue attacked repeatedly. The dark music in the background began to pick up as the pace became more high-pitched. It was painful to listen to as it reverberated through my headphones, but I never removed them. Red's sprite flickered in and out as he took damage, and his health dwindled to 0. A gurgled screech noise broke through the noise of the music, replacing it only briefly as Red's sprite faded into something that looked more like a decaying body before fading away completely with the screen. My heart was pounding. I was beginning to get a throbbing headache, and yet my eyes remained glued to the screen as the reminder of the scene that played out. As the music replaced the screen once again, another dialogue box popped up as Blue spoke yet again. "See you in hell." The battle options box popped up again, fight remaining the only option. Blue selected it yet again, but instead of murder, the attack option was suicide. There was a moment of hesitation, but Blue finally attacked himself with less fury than he had Red. As his own health fell to 0, a low gurgled screech replaced the high-pitched Pokemon Tower music. His sprite faded away. Only when the decayed sprite faded in, he wasn't facing the battlefield, he faced me. His screech continued on, growing in volume to the point where the pain it caused equaled that of a migraine. And yet, I still kept the headphones in, my eyes locked on the dead, hollow eyes of Blue as he continued to scream, before the screen began to flicker. It was slow at first, but quickly picked up to rapid strobe effect. The scream grew in volume and pitch one more time before the screen cut to black. I held my breath. My heart pounded so hard against my chest that it hurt. I deeply hoped that it was over, but considering the fact that I couldn't move or even hear any noise outside of my headphones, I fearfully assumed it wasn't. And I was right. I finally got revenge. The life you ruined is now faded away, but I don't think it's over yet. My suffering has ended, but yours has only begun. I'll be watching your strife with a grin on my face. And when it all ends, I'll see you in hell. Though I had full battery just a moment ago, the light turned red and the system turned off. My nose began to spill blood for several minutes, and I'll never be able to describe the terror I felt afterwards. I'll never be able to describe the terror I still feel. You see, the very next day on the news, they announced that the very same man I purchased the game from, I won't reveal his name, had called the police, saying that he'd killed his wife 3 days prior and buried her in the backyard. When they reached his house, they had found him by the phone
Dead, he slit his throat and committed suicide. It was also mentioned that several weeks ago, his 8-year-old son had murdered their 6-year-old son and killed himself. I assume that the game had done all of this, and I'm next. I don't know how much longer I have, nor do I know who will die at my hand. But you deserve to know this. Never play Blue Tears.